This is a guide to the National Ability Support System, or NASS for short, NASS. This guide will tell you how and why the Health Service Executive and the Health Research Board, the HRB, and service providers gather and store information about disability-funded service you use and need. The guide will answer some of the questions you may have about the following in terms of NASS. What the reporting system that collects your information does, how the reporting system works, what the information on the reporting system is used for, how your information is stored and protected, your rights, including your right to see your information, and your right to complain. The National Ability Support System, NASS for short, is a national database that records information about disability-funded services. NASS is managed by the HSE and the HRB. For the purpose of the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, the HSE and the HRB jointly decide why and how personal data is processed. This makes them joint data controllers. Section 1. What is NASS? The National Ability Support System is a national database which records information about the disability-funded services that people use and need. For example, residential services, respite care, day services, personal assistance, specialist supports, for example, occupational therapy or physiotherapy. Section 2. What is NASS used for? NASS is used to help plan, develop and organise disability services and supports. It is used to tell other health professionals about the number and the different types of services that people with disabilities need. It is used to show why funding is needed in disability services and supports. And it enables the HRB to carry out research using data without using names and addresses or any kind of identifying data. The information is recorded about you if you receive or if you need services or support which are paid for by the HSE disability budget. If you're not sure if the service you use or need is funded from the HSE disability service, you can ask your service provider. Section 3. How does NASS work? The NASS system works by collecting information and then storing that information. Step 1. Collecting information. Your service provider will ask you or your parent or guardian questions about the services you use or need and any other information. They will then record this information on NASS. See Section 4 on the next page for examples of the information stored on NASS. The HSE and the HRB legally collect this information to help the HSE plan and provide disability services. Step 2. Storing your information. Your data or information is stored on a secure database. Section 4. What information is collected on NASS? Personal details such as your name, your date of birth, your sex, your ethnicity or cultural background, your contact details, your employment or principal status, where you live and who you live with, the contact details for your nominated person if you are under 16 years of age, details about your primary carer if you have one, details about your disability, information about the type of disability you have, details about the disability funded services you use or will need to use, for example, residential services, day services, respite services, which can be either during the day or overnight, specialist supports like occupational therapy or physiotherapy. If you're using a service, you will be asked the following questions. Who provides it? How often you receive it? How much support you receive? If you need a service, you will be asked in what year you will need that service. Details of any aids, such as wheelchairs, grab rails, hoists, that you use or need. You may be asked for details of any difficulties you have with activities such as getting dressed, walking or standing for a long time, joining in community activities. Your information will be reviewed every year by the HSE or by your service provider. This will include your help where possible. Section 5. What is my information used for? Your information is used to look at the services that people with disabilities receive now, to understand what services may be needed, to see which services are needed the most, to support the planning of services, and to do research to improve disability services and supports. The HRB will publish reports using statistical information from NASS. Statistical information is number-related information. For example, the number of people who receive a specific service. The reports will not include your name or address or any identifying information. This also applies to any research carried out using the NASS data, which will also not identify you in any way. So for example, it won't use your name or address or any identifying information. Section 6. Who sees my personal information? Staff from your service providers and HSE and HRB personnel with special permissions can see your personal information. Your personal information is not shared with any other government body unless there is a legal reason to do so. Section 7. How is my information on NASS protected? By law, your information must be protected to make sure it is not lost or misused. This means only people who have been given the password protected access can see your information. Checks are carried out to make sure that your information is secure. NASS information provided to researchers is anonymous. This means it does not include your name or address or any other identifying details. Only people that are approved can use this information, and they must fill in a form saying why they need it before they are allowed to see it. Section 8. How long will my information be kept on NASS? Your information will be kept on NASS for as long as you use or need a disability-funded service. After that, your information will be kept for 8 years and then it will be deleted in line with HSE data retention policies. The HRB will keep the data which does not contain your name or address in a separate file to help with research and planning and to see what changes take place over time. Section 9. Do I have a right to my information? Yes, you have many rights. You have the right to ask for a copy of the personal data held about you, ask to correct any inaccurate personal information or update any information that's not complete. You have a right to object to how your personal information is used. You have a right to ask to get your personal information in a format that you can access and you can read. And you have a right to ask to restrict the way information about you is processed in certain circumstances. Section 10. Subject Access Request. Under the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, it is your right to request a copy of any personal data held about you. You can make the request in writing or fill in a form called Subject Access Request Form. You can get this form from your service provider or your local HSE office. You can also use HSE's online form. This is available at the address now shown on screen. Send the completed Subject Access Request form or a letter to your local service provider where you think your records are held. You can find more information about the Subject Access Request process at the website address now shown on screen. All Subject Access requests will be dealt with within 1 month. Section 11. Do I have to pay to see my information? No, you do not have to pay to see your information or to ask for changes to be made. Section 12. Contact details. If you want to know more information about how your personal information is used or if you're unhappy with the way your personal information has been handled, you should contact your local service provider or the HSE's Data Protection Officer. You can email the address now shown on screen, or one of the deputy officers in your region. Please see the table on the back cover of this leaflet. Or you can email the HRB's Data Protection Officer at the email address now shown on screen. You also have a right to complain to the Data Protection Commissioner. Contact details for the Data Protection Commissioner can now be seen on screen. If you have any questions or suggestions about NASS, you can contact the HRB NASS team at the email address shown on screen.